Hello, and welcome to the Embrace Balance, Discover Joy podcast. I'm Amanda Butland, your host and intuitive life coach.
All right. Well, welcome to another episode of the Embrace Balance Discover Joy podcast. Today, my special guest is Gary Montalvo. Gary, it's so great to have you with me today. I'm so excited. And Gary is a leadership and mindset coach.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm so excited to be here. I host a podcast too, so I know all the work that it takes to produce these things, and I know how meaningful it is when you bring a guest and introduce them to your community. So I'm honored to be here, and thank you so much.
Yeah. Since you mentioned your podcast, did you want to share with the audience, what your podcast is called in case they'd like to listen in on that?
Sure. It's called The Ownership Game, and it's similar to yours. We really explore inspirational stories. It's ownership in every area of your life. So sometimes we're talking about ownership in health, sometimes we're talking about ownership in your business, your mindset. Sometimes we're talking about ownership in, doing your work, your inner work to get going. So in all aspects of life, just being in ownership, personal responsibility.
Oh, I love that. I like that you threw in personal responsibility there at the end as to what sort of ownership means. I actually I love that term because oftentimes people they think about personal responsibility and they think of blame like it's their fault.
Yeah.
And so it's really not that at all. And just, being able to take like your word, ownership of your own life and to be able to control like what it is that they do versus being the victim, right? Having a victim mindset and just thinking that life is always happening to them and not sort of taking that ownership or that personal responsibility. So I love that.
100%. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really believe that that's the first step to anything, The
Hmm.
ownership is what gives you access to, even when you decide to work with someone like you or myself, you first have to get an ownership so that you can take that action so that you can then do the work that's being asked of you. So ownership is really the distinction that transforms everything, for
Mm.
me. So I spend a lot of time talking about that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I sort of diverged because I didn't ask you the first normal typical question because you mentioned the podcast, so I wanted to get that in. But I'm going to start now
Yeah, let's
officially
do it.
with the official icebreaker question. So, would you mind sharing with us what hobby or activity brings you the most joy and why?
Oh my goodness. So I try very much to do something with my hands. I'm a creative. I think I have an artistic spirit, but I don't get to practice anymore. My first career, I was actually a graphic designer, so I was always
Oh,
creating.
wow.
But now that I mean, the work, being an entrepreneur is very, very creative, and so I get my fulfillment out of that. But I think there's something important about physically moving your hands and doing things. So I will do now I'm learning how to like let me show you. But my new thing is like I'm learning how to crochet using these guys.
Oh,
And they're super simple to follow, they're teaching me how to crochet, and I can do it like while I'm, it just gives me my creative fix and gets me out of my head and
yeah.
into my body. Sometimes I do this little jewel painted number things. Sometimes I'll just do origami. But I just think it's really important to do something physical with your hands to get the juices flowing, to move the energy around
Yeah.
and to just relax your nervous system.
Yeah. How fun. I love that. I did the jewel by number thing for a little bit. I don't know. I think a friend got me into it and I was doing that for the longest time and I'm like, this is so much fun. And I'm like, I don't know if I have time for that anymore, but I love those little crochet animals because I've seen them and they're so adorable.
They're adorable and super easy, and yeah, they actually do a really good job setting it up so you're like, okay, just
Mm.
follow this. I mean, every once in a while you get lost and you're like, oh man, okay, I gotta go back to the beginning, but it's because I probably wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, that's cool that they're easy because I see those and I'm like, wow, that seems really complicated. I don't
Yeah,
know if I can handle that. I'm not a crocheter.
neither am I. Trust me.
Okay, well, that's good to know that they're easy. I might actually pick up one then and see how it goes.
You
That's
totally
super
should.
fun.
You'll get a little addicted though. You're, ne- you know. But I have little nieces and nephews, so I just like every time they come over, I'm like, hey,
Uh,
here. Because that's the other thing. You make these things and then you just end up with them everywhere. I have these little wooden puzzle figure things that you build, like these little
mhm.
houses and things, and then I'm like, okay, what
Oh
am I gonna
yeah.
do with this? So then I keep like giving them away to people until they tell me, don't give me more of this stuff.
That's awesome. I love it. All right. Well, let's get started into the meat of the content here.
All right.
We're here to talk about coaching and and as a leadership mindset coach, you've already talked a little bit about, what it is that you sort of do. Your podcast is about, ownership and personal responsibility. But I'd love to hear maybe a little bit more. Would you mind sharing sort of,
Yeah.
what it is that you do specifically, who it is that you help, and what is it that you help them do?
Yeah. So I work with entrepreneurs to help them bring leadership to the areas of their business where they don't like it, right?
Mm,
Most entrepreneurs they get into the business because they have a passion. They have a talent, a skill set, and so they get into the game and then they realize it's like, okay, I want to make cupcakes. My cupcakes are amazing. People really enjoy them, so I'm going to start making cupcakes. And you're like, okay, great. I'm going to start a cup making business, cupcake making business. And then you get in the game and you realize that making cupcakes is actually like 10% of it, right? Now I got to
mm,
learn how to sell these cupcakes, market these cupcakes. I got to learn how to navigate the finances. I got to learn file taxes. I have to, so we're not really taught all of that stuff. And for a lot of us, some of those areas can be confronting. I work with heart-centered entrepreneurs specifically, and something we struggle with is like sales, right?
mm,
Because most of us, especially if you're a coach, we do this because we love it. We do this because we care. We do this because we have a deep passion for it. And so all of a sudden, there's like this weird thing that happens in your brain when you have to ask for money for something that you're just doing as a self-expression. And it's like, it gets really uncomfortable. And so that's an area, for example, where I will help you bring your leadership to that and help you understand that that sales conversation is actually a expression of the stand that you want to make in the world.
mm,
That when you are actually having a sales conversation, that's just your stand for people being expressed, right? That's your purpose being
mm,
expressed. And so, yeah, so that's a very vivid example, I think, of some of the work that I help people do and
mm,
just getting inside a reaction more and more, we just have all this different stuff coming at us. I think my coaches, especially, we are being marketed so hard right now. We cannot turn on Instagram or Facebook or something without going, learn this formula for making six figures and I will turn, our inboxes are constantly being bombarded with like, hey, do you want free leads and all of that, right? So it's hard to
yeah.
know where to turn, it's hard to know where to go. And we're just constantly like in this like fight or flight and our nervous systems are constantly being like attacked. So it's how do we create a plan that's authentic for you, that feels good in your to
Mm,
your body and your nervous system, that feels in alignment with your heart, and then how do we work that process and just like, cut the noise. So yeah, that's some of the work that I really do. And then with like bigger companies, I go in and do team developments and leadership trainings and helping new leaders just build the muscle
mm.
to now lead a team.
Cool. I love sort of that, and I don't know what percentage of your business is corporate versus like heart-centered entrepreneurs, but I just love sort of those that heart-centered entrepreneurship type
Yeah.
person, right? Like you mentioned coaches, right? And I love what you mentioned around the struggle with asking for that money, right? Like, because it is something that they probably would do for free, right? It's something
Yeah.
that they are passionate about. They love it. They really enjoy helping people. And sometimes it's that there is that internal struggle of like, how do I ask for money in exchange for this? But like you said, right? It's an expression of sort of that value and the purpose
Yeah.
behind it. And it's like there is an energetic exchange that needs to happen. It's sort of like you can't just give it all away without
100%.
getting something back in return. And so it's just remembering that there does have to be some sort of exchange going on
Yeah.
there. So Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
We don't
yeah.
value it
That,
otherwise.
right. Exactly. So I sort of love sort of that focus of and how, because it is all mindset, right? When you think about that internal struggle, it's like, how can you overcome that belief that you have that you shouldn't be asking for money for something that you just
Yeah,
would
or how
do?
much do I ask?
Yeah.
Or I just started. I don't know how much to
Mm,
ask, or I'm not good enough to ask for money. Like there's all these layers to it
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that come in. Don't forget whatever we learned around money and being, I myself, like, I'm the child of immigrants. My parents migrated here from Dominican Republic. And very early in my business, I had reached a point where I had started moving and I was like, okay, okay. And I was working with my business coach at the time and they were like, well, how much money do you want to make this year? And I'm like, I don't know. I just, and oh, little background story. I had hit a plateau. I had
Mm.
grown, but then I hit a plateau. So we're working on this. You're like, how much money do you? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I just want to make enough. I just want to make enough. Well, guess what? I had already made enough,
Oh, wow.
right? I had already reached that level. And then when I started to dig into it, my conversations with money were always very utilitarian, right? Money in my house
Mm,
was like you pay the bills, you don't splurge, you don't do anything extra, you take care of the basics and then you have a little stash for emergencies. And there was a way that I was trained around money that was not like treating myself to a massage
mm,
was like not something that my mother would ever do, right? Um, and so I had to create bigger games. I had to create a game like, oh, well, what would it be like for me to pay for my parents' home for
mm.
retirement and pay that off? What would it be like for me to pay my brother's school loans, who that decided to get 2 degrees in ministry work?
Wow.
So, chances are he's going to be carrying the student loans for a while. What would it be like?
Hmm.
What would it be like to go take a mission trip somewhere and like really you know, help build a school. And those things got me excited about making more money because
Mm,
me necessarily having wealth there was a ceiling gap for me there. So that's an example of how these conversations from the past just are working us in the background
mm.
without us really knowing them and understanding them and how they
Yeah.
show up. And so that's why the work that working with someone like you or like myself to really uncover these things and not just uncover them because it's not enough to know them. Because let's face it, guys, there's a lot of things that you shouldn't be doing, but you're still doing it, right? You shouldn't have that cookie. You shouldn't yell at your partner. You shouldn't be avoiding your sales calls, right? There's all these things that we know, but how do we move them from the realm of knowing to the realm of action and
Hmm.
implementation? So definitely investing in yourself and getting a coach to support you or somebody. It doesn't have to be a coach,
Yeah.
but someone, something, is such a valuable gift to yourself.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah. I love what you just said. A couple of things there around just the money mindset that does actually develop when you're younger. It's not something that,
Mhm.
just comes when you're an adult and you start
Yeah.
earning money. That
And
that really is. There's a
they,
lot
they
back
say
there.
they say that by the age of 7, your belief system is shaped, right? So we're
Right.
walking around with the infinite wisdom of a 7-year-old, right? Like really navigating the world. Like it's terrifying when you think about it, because 7-year-old is managing your money conversations.
Yeah. 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 I love that. And yeah. And the second thing that you mentioned I really love is just that reminder of, this is what coaches do. They help you take those thoughts that and actually create steps or plans to
Yeah.
actually take action. Or, even if there's like some sort of mental block or false belief that exists, that you just need to get some work through in order to start taking those action steps. That's also what coaches do. So
Yeah.
just that reminder of this is why you need, and I think this is why you need somebody to help you with that. I think oftentimes people have this thought like I should be able to do it myself. Like
Oh
I
my God.
asking for help is weakness, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I'm like, why? Why should you be able to do that yourself? Why? Why? I did that for years,
Mm.
and I'm like, wait a minute, why am I was like, why do I have this expectation that I should just be good at sales? I literally trained for years to be a coach. Like and I didn't have an expectation that I should just be a good at that. Like I really dove into that and learning and yeah, we're so brutal with ourselves. We're just we're awful. We treat ourselves in ways that we would never treat another person. You would never walk
Oh,
up to another human and go, "Oh, you should just know how to do that." Like it would never come out of your mouth, right? But we say stuff like that to ourselves all the time.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I just wanted to reply to something you said. The other thing that I love about the working with a coach or working with somebody who can mirror back to you um, is that it's also a life hack because much in the same way that you would never say that to somebody else, you know, when you're working with someone who's going to come, hey, Amanda, did you do that? We show up differently. Like when it's just us
Yeah.
and nobody's watching, we are criminals. Like we will get away with murder. We will pretend, that it didn't happen. But when you're working with someone who is going to have that conversation, you start to show up differently because there's some accountability in place,
Yeah.
right? And accountability, I always use the analogy of baking a cake. If you want to bake a delicious cake, you need the ingredients, right? And that's you. That's what you bring. That's your secret sauce and your experience and all the, things that you bring to the table. And then you need tools, right? And whatever tools in your life you use. For us, where we have a microphone right now, we have a computer and a camera, and there's tools, AI, like all the things, right? But here's the thing, you could have all the amazing tools and you can have all the amazing ingredients, but if you don't put that sucker in the oven, it's never gonna rise,
Yeah.
right? And so you need the heat to create that chemical reaction, that transformation. And that's what accountability does. Accountability is what creates the heat. Accountability is what creates the temperature rising. And so what we very often will try to do is we will try to navigate life and create life trying to reduce the heat, trying to make it as comfortable as
Mm.
possible, trying
Hmm.
to avoid taking the risk, trying to avoid the account. You set a goal and you keep it quiet to yourself. You don't tell nobody, right? You just like, so your little secret, right? Because if you fail, you don't want anybody to know, right? Making
Yeah.
it comfortable. It's like, no, tell everybody. Tell everybody.
Hmm.
Put that, get the kids involved. When I work with mommies, I'm like, listen, you put your goals up on that fridge and you tell them, hey guys, this is mommy's game this week. And you ask me, hey mommy, did you do your sales calls today? Did you do, like, and when you do your sales calls, okay, guys, let's go to the board together and let's cross it off the list. There's a way that if you create accountability for
Hmm.
yourself, you start to show up differently. It just creates a different tension. And yeah, you're gonna go through those moments where you fail, and you're gonna go through those moments where you hit the floor and you're embarrassed and you let people down and you have to go tell your partner, no, I didn't do that. But if you don't, those moments are also part of the transformation.
Yeah.
Those moments are part of what you go, okay, I'm not having that conversation again. I'm gonna go get my stuff together and because I'm not gonna look my partner in the face again and tell him that I didn't do it.
Hmm.
Right? Or I'm not gonna, those are the moments that end up transforming us and creating movement in our lives. The thing is, we have to integrate the lessons from those failures.
Yeah.
And what we often do is we skip over it. You have a failure and then you try to move on to the next thing. You have a failure and then you just go, "Ooh, uncomfortable. Let me hide this so that nobody knows. Let me minimize it. Let me not talk about it." And so there's a way when we're doing that as a strategy, we don't integrate the lessons that are there. That failure is medicine. That failure
Mm.
has knowledge, it has wisdom for you. but you have to sit with it. You have to sit with it. You have to ask, what are you here to teach me?
Yeah.
Right? Again, having a coach who can navigate you through that conversation, that is exactly what a coach is going to do. Ask you, okay, what worked from that? What didn't work? Oh, nothing worked. No, no, no. Something worked. Even if it failed, something worked. You put your clothes on in the morning, you showed up, you brushed your teeth, something worked, right? There was some level of integrity in the game that we get to acknowledge, even if you didn't like the result. What didn't work? What would you do differently next time? What can you be grateful for? What's now available to you that wasn't available to you before? Those questions will transform any failure into a huge blessing.
Hmm.
But you need to do that work and you have to be able to sit with it and that's when someone who's trained to ask those questions can also be really, really powerful for you in your transformation. Anyway, I just
Yeah.
went on a long tangent. Hopefully,
No, that was actually that was amazing. I love that because I mean you did start with accountability, but then you went into this thing and I loved what you brought to the table about failure because I mean I don't even like to use that word really because
yeah, yeah, yeah,
when something doesn't work out, it isn't a failure, right? It is like you
yeah.
said, it's a lesson for something to be learned from. And so people talk about failure. I mean, like, failure really only happens if you just give up and don't do anything anymore, right? Like,
Hmm.
that's true failure, where you just like stop completely. But, learning from it, picking yourself up, keeping going, there is no failure there at all because there has been something learned
Yeah.
from the experience. So I love that you sort of brought that and shared all of that because, yeah, that's absolutely great stuff.
Thank you. I use
All
the big
right.
air quotes, failure.
Yeah. I'm like, what else could we call it? Let's call it something else. It's like a learning opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So I sort of skipped the normal order of questions I usually ask because I really wanted to hear about what it is that you do. And one of the things I always find interesting, so I hope you don't mind us going backwards in reverse
No,
order here,
no,
but
it's okay.
one of the things I always like to find out, because it's always an interesting story, is how you got to where you are. Like
Yeah.
what was the thing that prompted you to be all, hey, I want to be a leadership and mindset coach?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that you asked that question because it was not definitely in the bingo cards. So, as I said, my parents migrated here, from Dominican Republic. Gay kid, so I wasn't really like the sports guy. I wasn't really playing with the boys. And so I started to find refuge in art. And so the art teachers were like the ones who started nurturing me and I just was having fun, but then they started to tell me, "Oh, you should apply to this art program and you should apply to that art program." And I'm like, so I kind of followed the breadcrumb trail and eventually got to high school and they started preparing me to apply to be, I knew that I wasn't going to be a fine artist because again, I came from a place where I needed some money and I wasn't going to be broke. So they were like, "Oh, there's this thing called graphic design." I said, "Oh, okay. I can make money doing that. Great." So I applied to the School of Visual Arts to be a graphic designer and I worked my butt off. I mean, I graduated top of my class and my first job at 22 years old was working as an art director at Sony Music, designing
Wow.
CD and marketing for musical artists. And so very quickly I got to Sony and I realized, oh, I'm really well prepared to design things, but I was not prepared at all for navigating the complexities of a large corporate
Hmm.
environment. I was not prepared at all for navigating the complexities of being the only person in the room that looked like me, a gay Latino 22-year-old. And so I think if you ask my supervisors, they probably said I was doing a fine job, but every day for me going to work was like faking it till you're making it, right?
Hmm.
I was just waiting for the floor to be pulled out from under me. Eventually, after a few years, I left, and trying to really find a place where I could feel like myself. And I spent most of my 20s going from dream job to dream job to dream job, but feeling the same way, you know? And
Mm,
that's when I really figured out, oh, you take yourself wherever you go.
mm,
You can't really you can't outsource your confidence and your sense of self and your peace of mind and your ability to belong um to the circumstances around you, right? And so that was a really big lesson. And so I started to really look. I started to, okay, I need to work on whatever this is, right? I needed to work. On paper, I was very successful, but inside I felt just like helpless, scared. I felt like I wasn't good enough. And I worked in these environments where the designers were amazing. So every day going to work was like, shit, I gotta show up here, like, you know. So I started looking and I started with therapy because that's the thing that I knew.
hmm.
This was you're talking about like 2007 here, 2006, 7. So coaching was just beginning to be,
Yeah.
to be birthed. And so someone I knew took me to this training, and it was like this large group in a room for 5 days
Wow.
doing these exercises and doing these activities and then reflecting and learning. And it was like the lights came on.
Mm,
And all of a sudden, I had tools to navigate this stuff. I had language for it. It just really transformed me and my leadership. And when you graduate it was like a three-part curriculum. And when you graduate from it, you can go back and mentor the next class.
mm,
And so that's what I did. And then when I realized, I'm like, oh, wow, okay, this is where it's at. And I fell in love with the fact that I could have a conversation with another human being. And at the end of that conversation, something in their life shifted.
mm.
Something, and that was incredible to me.
Yeah.
And so after I finished that, the company offered me a job part-time, and I was like,
Oh,
okay. And I was just hanging out for fun because I loved it. I wanted to be
yeah.
around it. I was still designing, and doing this like on the side. But within a year, I had grown. I went up through the ranks. Within a year, I was running programs for them. I was one of their top coaches, and I had completely like I was in a place where you could you had 150 clients coming through the door every month.
Wow.
So it
Wow.
was like I was just getting my skills sharpened,
Yeah.
and so I ended up being there for a couple of years, and then somebody there was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go start my own coaching business. Do you want to do this with me?" And I had never considered it up until that point. I
Mm,
was just doing this for fun, and when I was like, "Yeah, actually, I do want to do this." So then I started the process of getting certified and doing that. By the time did the certification, I could have taught the class. It was just like I had so much experience from working at this place already.
hmm.
So yeah, that's how I started as a coach. And then I went through my own journey of like, okay, now that I'm making cupcakes, how do I sell these cupcakes? And how do I, how do- I'm really good at making cupcakes, but what? And so the first couple of years was like just, me struggling to sell these cupcakes to figure it out, to learn how to walk into a room and say, "Hi, I'm Gary Montalvo and I'm a coach." And as a designer, it was interesting because I think I want to say this because I think it's such an important lesson. As a designer, I had a physical portfolio.
Mm,
I had a degree. I had a resume that was impressive. I had these things that told the world that I am legitimate, that I am ready, that I am this.
hmm.
As a coach, when I said I'm gonna become a coach and start a business, I had nothing. I had no portfolio to back me up. I had no, I mean, I guess I had my credentials, but nobody
Mm,
cared. And it was like this it was like this vulnerable thing where I literally all I had was a business card to say that I'm a coach, and I designed the business card myself. So it wasn't even like nobody even gave it to me, go here. And so there's this ego death that had to happen.
Mm,
There's this ego death, and I think that happens to us a lot when we have to let go of something
mm,
that gives us status
hmm.
and gives us all the comforts that come with status, to now say, okay, I have to go to this new place. There's no status. I got to start from the bottom.
Yeah,
I got to figure it out. And the kicking and screaming that comes with that, the resisting it, right? The ego doesn't want it.
right.
The ego fights it.
Yeah,
The ego,
yeah.
And so, of course, kicking and screaming, it took me longer. It took me about 5 years to go through that process.
Mm.
Before I started to actually make money, because I was still dealing with the other, I'm not a designer anymore.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I love sort of that shift, right? From being a graphic designer, sounds like you were amazing at that, and just complete shift to coaching. But I love how you attended this event, and that's where sort of your eyes open to this new world of,
Yeah,
coaching and how impactful it is. And that's the thing that I find, right? Like most people, until they experience something like that and
yeah,
they receive a shift or like some mindset shift or something, some big aha from a coaching experience, that then they're like, wow, how impactful it can be. Just, and like even in just a one-on-one coaching session, like even one session, somebody can come away with like this huge perspective shift or aha moment that
yeah,
does like completely change their lives just from like a 45-minute conversation. So just how impactful it is, and how amazing just being able to work with a coach and have your life change so dramatically, just from working with somebody and having
yeah.
conversations.
Yeah, and I think the other lesson there is just sometimes you just got to follow the breadcrumbs.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how spiritual woo woo you guys get on the show, but I believe
we
that,
do.
okay, yeah, I believe that we're being supported, and that, you know, Spirit is putting things in our path and saying,
Hmm.
okay, here you go. And a lot of times we are, no, not that. No, no, not like that. No, 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 that's not it. And it's like, no, I put this event in front of you, go to the event.
Yeah, yeah.
I put this invitation in front of you, say yes, like be a yes to life. See what's available out there, and you'll find that things will start to come to you. This all this abundance, but we think that the abundance has to only come to us one way, monetarily, right?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
there's all these other ways that abundance and wealth can come to us. So
Hmm.
if we go, oh, but I take some from here and some from here, some from here, and I add it up, I'm wealthy.
Yeah,
There's so much
yeah.
abundance in my life. But if I'm only measuring the pile of cash in my bank account, well, then yeah, that's not true.
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that last piece that's up. As an intuitive life coach, I do actually have a lot of intuitives as guests
Mm.
on, and so there's quite a bit of woo in some of the episodes. But I love that you brought that up around just sort of the universe just bringing you the little tidbits and the little
Yeah.
hints here and there, and oftentimes people are not listening, or they're
Oh my
like you
God.
said, like, oh, that's not how I want to do it. Like you have
Hmm.
this idea of how it should happen, but that's really not the way it's
We
usually
can
ends up
do a
happening.
we can do a whole other podcast on just that topic alone, okay? So
Yeah,
have me
yeah.
back and we'll dive into that.
Awesome. All right.
Oh my
You're
goodness.
right. That is a completely separate topic. And, we've had a great conversation so far. I do want to start to wrap it up just because of the time
Yeah.
for today. So before we actually end today, just wanted to open it back up for you. If there are any final words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the audience.
Ooh, final words. I think what I would want to say is we all have to we all have to do our work. I know that it's very easy to look outside of us and go, oh, well, that person seems to not be struggling with that.
Mm,
That person seems to have that what thing that I want. They have the relationship, the business, the finance. We all have to do our work. It may not be, your work might not be the same as somebody else's. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's why we're here. It's why we have time on this spinning rock is to do our work.
mm,
And the more you resist that, the more you get stuck, and the more that you start to delay that thing, you know. So embrace the suck, embrace the lesson. There's a lesson in everything, guys. I promise you. If you just go, what is this meant to teach me? What is it here trying to teach me? What is the growth opportunity for me in this moment? I don't care if it's cancer. I don't care if it's there's always something, and I'm not trying to belittle any experience. I'm just saying there's always something for you to learn from it and use it as medicine. Many of us are using our struggle and trauma and experiences to do this work that Amanda and I are
mhm,
doing, to get on microphones and share our medicine. One of the reasons I'm so passionate about working with entrepreneurs is because I spent 5, 6 years terrified, avoiding opening up the bills, avoiding talking about my business, ashamed, alone. I know what that's like. So I use that now. I use that experience as the medicine to share with others. So there's always purpose, and it doesn't have to look like you getting a microphone like this. If it does, beautiful. But it'll reveal itself to you if you just ask the question and, you got this.
awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you
Thank
again, Gary, for
you.
being with me today.
Thank you for having me. You're lovely. You said we're gonna do a 25-minute episode. I was like, ooh, that's gonna be hard because we like chatting. But thank you so much. It means a lot to
Yeah,
me. I appreciate you. And anytime you want to have me back.
awesome.
Alrighty.
Thanks.
I invite you to subscribe to the Embrace Balance Discover Joy podcast and join our community. If you feel inspired by what you hear, please leave a review and share this podcast with others who might benefit. And remember, it's never too late to embrace balance and discover joy in your life. Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes filled with inspiring stories and valuable insights. Until next time, take care and be kind to yourself.